that time and would recognize the gentlewoman from Georgia, Ms. McBath.
Thank you so much, Chairman, and thank you, Director Dettelbach. It's good to see you, and thank you for coming before the Judiciary Committee today. I thank you so very much for the important work that you're doing in your role as Director of the ATF, the first permanent one that we've actually had in this country in over 8 years. Can you imagine that? And so 8 years, the ATF conducts some of the most critical work of preventing crime from happening, such as by ensuring background checks are completed so that those who are not legally able to possess a firearm cannot actually purchase them. ATF, we know, also works with local and state law enforcement, as he has expressed over and over again this morning, to trace firearms that have been used in violent crimes, to assist in making convictions in prior crimes and stopping future crimes from happening. They also work to prevent illegal firearms trafficking, reducing the risk of public safety in our towns and our cities. If this Congress is committed to keeping our community safe, keeping Americans whole, we must do everything in our power to support the ATF and its initiatives. Director Dettelbach, one of the great achievements of the 117th Congress was the passage of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Law. That was my law. The most significant gun safety package in almost 30 years. The initiatives set forth in that law include things such as funding for the implementation of extreme risk protection order programs and laws that ensure that firearms are not in the hands of those a court has found through due process as a danger to themselves or to their community. Funding for community violence intervention and working to close the gun show loophole. Please share with us, because I do believe that you have been just unjustifiably kind of attacked today. So please share with us how the ATF is implementing all of the provisions of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, that law.
Thank you. Congress passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act shortly before I came on as director of ATF. And since that time, the parts that actually fall within ATF's jurisdiction, we've been working very hard to implement. There are other parts, because this is an all-of-the-above approach that has to be taken to violent crime. Others are working on more. But two of the things that Congress did was gave us our first standalone straw purchase felony and our first standalone firearms trafficking felony under federal law. And we have been investigating with our state and local partners those kinds of cases. And we've brought over 30 different defendants, more than that, have been prosecuted. The other thing I want to say is, you know, we also work with industry. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in St. Louis with the National Shooting Sports Foundation rolling out the Don't Lie for the Other Guy campaign there. That's a campaign where we work together to try and educate firearms dealers, licensees. I was in a gun store to catch straw purchasers, how to recognize it, what to do, because they are often our first line of defense. And so we are doing enforcement, we're doing education, we're doing training. We've trained everybody at ATF, so thousands and then thousands of prosecutors across the country. I have personally gone to speak to large groups of law enforcement agencies about this. So it's, again, an all-of-the-above approach to do what we can. Congress didn't give us any money for that, but we are not stopping. We're going to do everything we can to implement that important law.
Thank you. So in what ways does ATF, well, you really kind of already answered the question. I wanted to know, how did you work with state and local law enforcement agencies? But you've really kind of stated that in that last answer. But why are these partnerships so important to ATF?
We are a very small agency compared to all the other federal law enforcement agencies. We're a small law enforcement agency, 5,000 plus people with a huge mission. It's all gallows humor, right? Well, we have 5, but at least we don't have a big mission: violent crime. Right? It's a very difficult, large mission. So how do you do it? You do it by force multiplication and partnership. You do it by sitting on task forces. You do it by sending an agent to work in the homicide unit of a major city police department. You do it by working on the carjacking initiatives that we're working on in Philadelphia. You do it by going after the gangs along with state and local law enforcement that we do in California, in New York, in the middle of the country, all over the country. Every single day, ATF, and I work with the other law enforcement agencies, and I have for years, but ATF, we do that partnership with state and local law enforcement better than anybody. And when I go and talk to chiefs, the number one things that chiefs and sheriffs say over and over again is please send more ATF resources. And I tell them that everybody is asking for it, and you're all correct.
Thank you, and I'm out of time.
The gentleman yields back.